Golden State Media Concepts social media podcast. Time to hashtag everything with
Mariano
and Pauline.
Hashtag Pauliano. We talk about all the fun, crazy stories on social media. From Instagram to Facebook, Twitter to Tumblr, or probably even Friendster. Join us each week as we explore the quirky side of social media. It's the Golden State Media Concepts social media podcast.
It's simple, such a sad song. The one that we rely on to get us.
Hello and welcome to the GSMC Social Media News Podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by AdamandEve.com, where for a limited time only you will get 50% off of just about any item on their website. Just use the promotional code SMP, think of Social Media Podcast, at AdamandEve.com. Again, welcome to the GSMC Social Media News Podcast. I am your host, Sarah, and we've got a couple of topics to talk about on today's episode, starting with Twitter's new character count. We also have the Stranger Things cast. What's going on with the Stranger Things cast? Have you seen the second season? Don't worry, there won't be any spoilers. And then finally, Facebook has rolled out a new feature on their site as well. So those are the things that we'll be covering on today's episode. So let's go ahead and get started with that first topic of Twitter's new character count. This week they doubled the character count. So instead of having only 140 characters, you now get 280 characters, which is still not a lot, but it is double what you got before. And it's, well, it's interesting because instead of, as you're typing, you can watch your character count go down, and it used to show you how many characters you had left before you ran out of room. Now it's got this funky little circle that spins around as you're typing, and it's sort of helpful because you can kind of see, you can guess approximately what percentage you're at by where the circle is, but honestly, I think maybe I'm very literal and I like being able to see just how many characters I have left. I don't want to guess. I don't like the circle. I don't mind the 280 character count. I think that it will be good in some ways. I mean, it'll eliminate maybe some of the crazy abbreviating that we've learned to do to save on character counts. But on the other hand, it also will give people who are already annoying on Twitter double the character space to be even more annoying or obnoxious or offensive than they already were. So that is definitely a concern. The interesting thing is that many authors have taken to Twitter to express their disappointment in this new character count. Authors, you would think, write for a living, right? They would want to be able to write longer tweets, but that does not seem to be the case for a certain section of authors, including J.K. Rowling, who is a huge presence on social media. She often has tweets that are just straight and to the point and kind of shutting down trolls. She's awesome at doing that, but she is not impressed with the new character count. What she said was, in fact, that she said Twitter's destroyed its USP. The whole point for me was how inventive people could be within that concise framework. And I can understand her point. I mean, people did have to get creative in the way that they framed their tweets, in the way that they expressed themselves. You definitely had to work on being a lot more concise in the way you presented your tweets. And then she hashtagged, of course, hashtag Twitter 280 characters, which it was trending throughout the week as people expressed their like or dislike of this new character limit. Stephen King simply replied to J.K. Rowling with what she said, and then Neil Gaiman replied to Stephen King with what he said, she said. And then Lin-Manuel Miranda replied to Neil Gaiman what they said. So certain people are not really liking it. And in fact, at one point, Stephen King just gave a very concise, not anywhere close to 140 characters, F that. So Stephen King not pulling any punches about how he feels about the new character limit on Twitter. Don't hold back, Stephen. Tell us how you really feel. To which you would probably say, yeah, I just did. So, other people are also concerned with, maybe we could use this instead of, let me back up, maybe instead of upping the character count, some people are saying maybe Twitter could do some other things with that. I saw one tweet this week that said, that's great, something about that's great, Twitter, 280 character counts, but can you please be able to edit a tweet after we post it? Which I totally agree with, because I hate when I post a tweet and then I notice like one tiny little typo and you have to delete the tweet and redo it just to fix your typo. Can we not be able to edit our tweets? Is it really that complicated? Or maybe we could, as author Celeste Ng said, maybe we could develop some anti-trolling measures. Maybe there's some, instead of changing the program to include more characters, maybe we could develop those anti-trolling measures. She also said maybe Twitter could hire some goddamn women too. So also somebody else who is not, pardon my French, by the way, also someone else who is not holding back her opinion on Twitter. So yeah, lots of people who are not happy, lots of people who are saying they aren't going to use 280 characters. One tweet says, apparently I've not been paying attention, but we all have 280 characters now. I'm sure this will make Twitter more tolerable. And yeah, I put the sarcasm in there, but I'm pretty sure that was meant to be sarcastic. That was John Scalzi at Scalzi on Twitter. So people are just not impressed. They say it sucks. They aren't impressed. And John Green, who is the author of many young adult books, said, after tweeting much longer than he normally tweets, said, P.S. Thanks for the 280 characters, Twitter. I will use it extremely unwisely, just like I use every other facet of Twitter. So more sarcasm. And then, of course, Stephen King and his very charming F-bomb. So who is liking this? Or is anyone liking it? One person, Matt Hag at MattHag1, said, I love 280 characters. You can write whole words. You don't even have to write 280 characters, as in 280 characters. You can write 280 characters, spelled out, and still have room to quote Tolstoy. And then he quotes Tolstoy. Everything that I understand only because I love. Wow. So that's actually quite the paragraph. You don't often see, of course, that much writing on Twitter. Tessa Dare, who is a romance author, says, I don't have a character count on my tweet window anymore, just this mysterious little circle. I think it's watching me. I agree, Tessa. I don't like the circle. I don't know if it's watching me, but yeah, I'm a little concerned. So people are upset. People love it. People are sarcastic about it. Pretty much the exact responses that you would expect on social media about these kinds of things. Of course, it's going to be a love-hate kind of thing. Some people will love it. Some people will hate it. But notice that they take to Twitter to tweet about it, which I think is hilarious and fabulous. And now I want to know, what do you think? Hashtag 280 characters. Do you like it? Do you not like it? Does it concern you in any way? Are you going to take advantage of it? Are you going to be a purist and stick to only 140 characters, which you will now have to count? I guess you could go halfway around the circle and just hope that you're right at 140 characters, or you could be very, very persistent and count your characters. I right now think it's got some positives, but we'll see. It could have some definite negative connotations if we have to read more horrible bullying, trolling ick from people who like to hide behind their computer screen and do that. So we shall see. It's new. It's different. We're going to get used to it. And we're going to see as the weeks go on how it's used. If it's used for good or if it's used for evil. With that, we are going to take our first break of the podcast, so stay tuned and we will be right back with the GSMC Social Media News Podcast. So, whether or not you're going to tweet about it in 280 characters or less, are you maybe looking to spice things up in the bedroom? Have you been fantasizing about surprising your lover with an adventurous new toy or maybe a new adult movie? Well, we've got an offer for you that you are not going to be able to resist. Just go to adamandeve.com, where for a limited time only, you'll get 50% off of just about any item on their website. Yes, you heard me correct, but that is not all. When you select your one item at 50% off, you will also receive 3 free DVDs. Maybe for a little inspiration, whatever you need, plus a free extra gift that they're not even telling me what it is. I can't even tell you because I don't know. It's a mystery gift. But to top it all off, you will also receive free shipping on your entire order. No, they are not kidding. Check out adamandeve.com today for this special offer. You'll get 50% off of one item when you type SMP, again, think social media podcast, into the offer code upon checkout. When you do, you'll get that 50% off. You'll get those 3 free DVDs, a free extra gift, and free shipping. Just use that offer code of SMP at adamandeve.com. That's SMP, think social media podcast at adamandeve.com. Welcome back to the GSMC Social Media News Podcast. We were speaking before the break about the new 280 character count that is now allowed on Twitter. And we're going to move away from that specific topic on Twitter and talk about Stranger Things Season 2. Well, more specifically, the actors on Stranger Things. Don't worry, I haven't actually seen Season 2 yet, so there's no way I can give you any spoilers. If you have not heard of Stranger Things, which I have seen people online talking about, what is Stranger Things? I haven't heard of it. It is a new show. It was new last season, at least. Last season was the first season, on Netflix. So it is a Netflix show, and it is very kind of fantasy, science fiction, mystery, creepy, but it's also set in the 80s, and so it is really, really well done in terms of being set in the 80s. I mean, the things, if you were an 80s kid, the things that you remember and the pop culture and movie references that they put into the show, from the music to you're going to feel like you're watching again some of your favorite 80s movies like The Goonies or E.T. or any of those, the Brat Pack in some ways. So it's got this great 80s vibe. I had to laugh when I first started watching it. I was watching it with a bunch of 20-somethings who, early 20s, they, didn't grow up in the 80s. They weren't even born in the 80s. I am old, people, but they were so nostalgic for a time that they had never lived through. It was cracking me up. They loved all the 80s references, which, that's cool. That's their prerogative. They were loving the show. But, they were so excited about the font that the word Stranger Things was written in because it was just so 80s. So that made me laugh. At any rate, the story revolves around a group of, they are 13 in season 1, and there's a mystery, and there's some very strange things happening, a disappearance, there's some possible alien monstery kind of, you're just, I'm not going to give anything away again, but it's very, very strange. Stranger Things, it is strange. It did take me a couple of episodes to really get into it. I wasn't sucked in maybe as completely as other people, but I did end up very much liking it, and I am curious to see where they are going to take season 2 because I'm not sure. And since I haven't seen it, I can't even give anything away. Those of you who have seen it, you know what they're going to do in season 2, so I'm a little bit jealous. But what I'm here to talk about today is I kept seeing tweets about Stranger Things last week. Not just, I was seeing tweets about season 2 and people loving it. And good job to my friends and the people that I follow on social media, because I didn't get one spoiler on social media about Stranger Things season 2. Nicely done, people. But what I was seeing was just leave the kids alone, let them be kids. And I wasn't sure what that was all about. Well, on the one hand, not on the one hand, I started looking into it. And it turns out that one of the actors, a young man by the name of Finn Wolfhard, which, come on, can we just talk about what a fabulous name that is in the first place? Anyway, he is one of the 4 boys that are in the story, and he is 14 years old in real life as well as on the show this season. And apparently he walked into a hotel in front of a bunch of fans who were screaming at him and trying to get his attention, and he didn't acknowledge them. So people were upset, and they started doing what people tend to do on social media, which is trolling, and they actually sent a tweet to one of his cast members and said really horrible things like how much they hated him, Finn Wolfhard, and how they wanted him to kill himself, and could this other co-star tell him to. Yeah, so in fact, the tweet said, "Me and my friends hate Finn and want him to kill himself. How do we get him to do that? Could you tell him to, please?" Okay, first off, can we please stop telling other people to kill themselves? Stop it. Just stop it. It's too much. Bullying is out of hand in the first place, but don't ever, even if you say, "Oh, I'm just kidding," even if you say that, no. It is never acceptable. Second of all, they were offended. I get that. But this is a human being. He's an actor. Yes, he's a public figure, but he's also 14. And he may have been tired. He may have had a lot on his mind. He may have just not been feeling particularly social. And I've seen these kids before, and they, considering their age, they do really well in the public eye. They're really great to their fans. I've seen them interacting. But they're human, and they're not going to always be on. And so I can understand if you are a teenager and you got offended, because being a teenager is hard anyway, and you've got all those crazy emotions roiling around. What disturbs me more is the adults who were angry because he didn't acknowledge them. Okay, you're adults. He is a teenager. He is a 14-year-old boy, and you should know better. So grow up, try to be at least as mature as these 13. All the actors in this show of the younger age group are between the ages of 13 and 15 or 16. So you need to be the adult and the grown-up and understand that everyone's going to have off days. So calm down. And other people have been chiming in on social media and talking about, their kids, don't make them grow up too fast. And they are in the spotlight. And we know from other experiences that being a child actor is not easy. And it can lead to a lot of pressure, can lead to just a lot in life. And we want these kids to have a healthy upbringing. They're not going to have a normal upbringing because they're on Stranger Things, which is hugely popular. But calm down, folks. In fact, Sophie Turner, who is now 21, but you probably know her from Game of Thrones. She actually started on Game of Thrones when she was 15, and she went online to talk about it from her perspective, and she said, "Damn, seeing fully grown adults wait outside the Stranger Things kids hotel, etc., and then abuse them when they don't stop for them is super weird. A, what adult in their right mind waits for a child outside their hotel? And B, then is offended when the child doesn't stop." And she put child in caps each time. And she goes on, she's not having it. This kid is 13, and she says, "Imagine if it were your child and you were out with your 13-year-old and there was an adult with a camera phone who was doing everything in their power to get a picture of your child. How would you react?" So again, she's being a great voice of reason. She speaks probably from experience. So let's just calm down. Also, again, these are minors. These are kids who are under 18. Some of them they're all teenagers now, but they're barely out of their preteens, some of them. So don't sexualize them. I've been seeing that on Twitter as well. And, it's one thing if you're a 13-year-old girl and you think these boys are cute, that's one thing. But if you are a grown person and you are saying things that sexualize these kids, please stop that too. It's creepy. They are adorable. The cast is they're really cute, but they're really young. I saw a video of the 4 boys, pretending like they were doing a skit where they were in a Motown group with James Corden, and they were seriously adorable. But they're also seriously 13, 14, 15. So calm down. They're just kids. Let's give them some space. Let's enjoy the heck out of their show where they get to go be kids in the 80s with no cell phones, and, the only video game options are Pong and Space Invaders, which is awesome. But they're still kids. So I'm going to get off my soapbox, but that's all I have to say is just, come on, let's be more mature than the actual children who are being mature and handling their newfound fame in pretty respectable ways. So I'm going to stop there, and we are going to take our second break of the podcast. Stay tuned, and when we come back, we'll be talking about a new feature that Facebook has just rolled out. Stay tuned. You're listening to the GSMC Social Media News Podcast, and we will be right back.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Welcome back to the GSMC Social Media News Podcast. Before the break, I was ranting a little bit about Stranger Things, and I'm going to move away from that, but we're going to talk about, hey, strangely enough, social media news, things that are happening in the world of social media. So we're going to move on to a story about Facebook, and Facebook, maybe you've heard, but in the last few days has, or just today actually, I think, has created a disaster response button. So you may have noticed on your Facebook that people after big events, whether natural disasters or really horrible events like the shooting in Las Vegas, excuse me, you may notice that they mark themselves safe. You may notice that your friends mark themselves safe in X, Y, or Z event, which is great. It's a great way to communicate that, yes, you are safe, that you are fine to a large group of people. You know, you might not be able to call everyone that you want to call, but you might have enough battery power, depending on what's going on in the world, to check yourself in as safe. So they have this crisis relief section on Facebook that you can click on, and it will show you the different events that people have marked themselves safe. And now you can donate to those communities who are affected by crises. So there is a donate to relief efforts button in the crisis response section of Facebook. And it says that Facebook says they will send the money donated through that button, that donate button, to Global Giving, which is a nonprofit that works with many NGOs who may be on the ground in disaster situations. Through its partnerships And this is according to Rachel Krause on Mashable. She says, through its partnerships, Global Giving learns where the money is needed most during disaster situations and disseminates its funds where they deem it will be most impactful. So, following a disaster, people in the affected area often have tremendous needs to help them recover and rebuild. So this is a way that you can donate. It's right there on Facebook. You're going to want to do some research on your own, find out if Global Giving is an organization that you want to support. That's, of course, always your prerogative. There are other ways also to donate to. There's always the Red Cross. There's always places that you can donate. If you have your favorite places, keep donating to those. But often after a situation like this, we want to help, but we don't know how, right? And with the recent shooting in Texas and the backlash over people just sending thoughts and prayers, this is one thing that you can maybe do that's a little more tangible, a little more hands-on. You can donate through this button, or of course, you can donate through your favorite charities, your favorite organizations. You can volunteer, you can do whatever it is that you feel is best for you to react in that situation. But it is nice to see social media being used in ways that are potentially helpful, giving people places to actually go. There's the button right there. It's easy enough. So what do you think? Had you heard about this? Is it something that you are excited about? Is it something that you aren't sure about? What do you think about this new button? Let us know in our social media. You can comment on our social media. Let us know what you think about Twitter's 280 characters. Let us know what you think about this new disaster relief donate button on Facebook. Let us know what you think about Stranger Things. No spoilers. Just remember, no spoilers. Some of us are incredibly slow and haven't seen it yet. We are going to do one of the things that I like to do, which is look at the upcoming holidays that you can tweet about or Facebook about or celebrate in whatever ways you would like. I just love that every day of the year has multiple holidays that you can celebrate on it. So what is coming up? Tomorrow, of course, is November 11th, so that is Veterans Day. Thank you to everyone who has served our country and just with their time, with their effort, we really appreciate that. I want to thank the veterans in my own life. Thank you for your service. But tomorrow is also Singles Day and National Sunday Day, which is awesome. You can eat ice cream and celebrate being single. There you go. November 11th, Singles Day and Sunday Day. Also Origami Day, which sounds kind of fun. You can eat ice cream, celebrate being single, and do origami. What else can you do this weekend? Well, let's see. Sunday, November 12th, Happy Hour Day. Hey, there you go. It is also Chicken Soup for the Soul Day, which, interesting that Chicken Soup for the Soul has a day. National Pizza with the Works Except Anchovies Day. Oh, it's also International Tongue Twister Day, which makes me ask you the question, what is your favorite tongue twister? Mine is... Let's see if I can do it. The sixth sheep's sick. That's what mine is. The sixth sheep's sick. And of course, with tongue twisters, you should see if you can say them 10 times in a row and how well you can do that. Some people are awesome at tongue twisters. Some people not so much. It's Happy Hour Day, so go celebrate Happy Hour and then try to do some tongue twisters. Celebrate Happy Hour, eat some pizza, do some tongue twisters on Sunday. Sounds like a plan to me. So there you go. You can plan your weekend accordingly in terms of what's going on, and then you can post it on social media with hashtags, and everyone can know what you're doing because it's weird and fun. That is all that I have for you today, all the time that we have for this episode. I want to thank you so much for joining. I hope you'll join me next week as we look at all the news coming out of the world of social media. Of course, we don't know what that will be until it actually happens. So speaking of social media, we'd love it if you followed us on social media. We'd love it if you left your comments. What do you think about these stories? What do you think about 280 characters? What are you going to do with them, if anything? Etc. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram. Come find us, follow us, interact on social media. We would love to hear from you. In the meantime, before next week, you can find all of our podcasts at www.gsmcpodcast.com. You can download those podcasts on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Google Play, any app that you use for your mobile device. So go out and find not just this podcast, but all of our 20 podcasts here at the GSMC Podcast Network. Thank you again for joining me. Please join me again next time. In the meantime, stay social.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Social Media Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.